Welcome to Podnutz, Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 167. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Pulse Printing and Promotions. Get help with all your print and promotional needs. Use the offer code Podnutz for a 5% discount on every order. With that, let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Martin Obando from Obando Computing. Martin, how you doing?
I'm doing well. It's Sunday. Haven't been here in a long time, so it's glad to be back. Glad you invited me, and here I am. Ta-da.
Glad to have you back, man. And also joining us today, we have Chad Kempt from Fast Computers. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing all right, Jeff. Doing all right.
Good. Looking good with your setup there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
All right, so Martin, why don't you go ahead and start off and share with us one story or tip that might help somebody out there.
Sure. The story and tip that actually has come back and kind of bit me a little bit, and Jeff and I were talking about this, is set expectations with your clients. Know exactly what you're going to do. Know exactly what they expect, because a lot of assumptions were made in a client of mine currently, and we're dealing this out. This will be resolved, but I think they were expecting some reporting. I was expecting, them to be reading. So have a clear expectation of who's getting what and who's monitoring what. They didn't want to pay me for monitoring anything that they didn't feel like I needed to monitor, and vice versa. So it became this, it kind of blew up into a bigger issue than it actually should have been, but it all comes down to when you're sitting down with a client, set expectations. Know what you're responsible for, know what they're responsible for. Are you responsible for getting emails from services when issues happen? Or are they responsible for getting those emails and then letting you know when there's a problem? So kind of proactive versus reactive.
Now, Martin, do you actually set up paperwork and have contracts with your clients, or is this kind of more email, word of mouth type of thing?
No, I do have contracts setting up of what's going to be managed and what's going to be monitored. At one time, they were monitoring an email service, an email client. They assumed I assumed they were, and then when there was a lot of transition within the company, it just fell through the cracks, is really what happened. And it wasn't until months later that we went back and looked at something that we realized that backups in particular had stopped, only because the email wasn't going to anybody yet to let us know that the backups had stopped and the subscription actually had expired. Is what had happened. So everything was fine. We're back up and running, but it became a lot of who was responsible for that. And originally they were responsible, and it fell through the cracks, and then they blamed me, and we're gonna hash it out. It's gonna be resolved. Everything is fine. There was no data loss, but it's kind of expectations are a big deal, because they assume I assume something, because I have other clients who have backups in place, and yet they want all the reporting. So if there's an issue with the reporting, they'll let me know that, hey, this issue is happening with reporting, or hey, we're getting only 99% completion. Could you take a look at it? Sure, not a problem. And yeah, just
gotcha.
The way that I build them and the way they've chosen to be built versus the way that they wanted me to react were also two different. So not only expectations of the services, but expectations of what I provide with the services and the choice of billing. So unfortunately, this was a kind of a small thing of a big Band-Aid, but I think we're going to get through it.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Not really, but
yeah. Well, it's regardless of what happens, it's always something that you can learn from, right?
Yes.
So there's no harm, no foul as far as I'm concerned, as long as you can learn from the situation and set yourself up to not repeat it again in the future.
Yes.
As best you can. Still
Yep.
not perfect. All right, very good. And Chad, why don't you go ahead and share a tip or story with us this week that would help somebody out?
Sure. So on the note of backups, let's talk about what could happen in a horrible situation if you didn't have things in place. I think Jeff, I'm a big Dotto partner. I'm not really big. I am what I am, but I'm a Dotto partner. I really subscribe to the idea that they have going on for reducing downtime and all that sort of stuff. But without sounding like a marketing pitch, let me tell you a story that happened at the beginning of the year. I come back from the holidays on January 4th, and we had a customer that had a failed hard drive. Now, it was a server we'd inherited, so I didn't really like the setup. It wasn't really great. The bottom line is we had to restart it to turn off the alarm for a variety of reasons. We won't worry about that. The customer, I advised him to wait until after hours to do this, because I said there is some risk that, we shut it off, it's got a failed hard drive, things might not go well. He said, I'm going to lose my mind. You need to do this right now and get this alarm off. So we said, okay. So we restart the server. I think it was a 6-drive RAID 6 array, right? So we could have 2 drives fail. We only had 1 fail. We reboot. Cascade drive failure. We lost 2 more drives during the reboot. So we're now dead. Array's toast. Garbage. We got nothing. So we're in the middle of a work day. First day back. Everybody's really busy. We got a Dotto in place, though, because this is a managed client, and I won't take managed clients if they don't agree to have a Dotto. So he's got a Cirrus in there. We spent a little bit of time seeing if we could get the array to come back up. It was dead. We probably shouldn't even have wasted the 20 minutes we spent on it. We then failed over to the Dotto. Once we failed over to the Dotto, had a small little issue with their SBS server sucking more memory than we were telling it could have. But we got it up and running. For the next 4 days, we ran off the Dotto. They continued business. They had a couple hours of downtime, and that was it. And then we got the new server ordered in. And the really cool thing about the failback was they were on VMware originally. And while I was a big VMware fanboy, I backed off a little bit on the really small installs with 1 host and a couple servers, just because you can't monitor it as effectively as you can something like Hyper-V without having the license and then loading like the vSphere VM. And when you do that, it's more resources and you lose all the benefits. So that's my opinion, but we were going to Hyper-V is the end of the story here. And what happened was, because we had the Dotto, it doesn't matter if you restored it to a VHD or a VMDK, for Hyper-V or VMware. We exported the image after hours of the one server the one night and the other server the second night, and they had 0 downtime on the backside. So a couple hours on the front side, 0 hours on the back side. If we wouldn't have had that in place, if they were on external hard drive backups or some other thing, they would have had a few days of downtime while I ordered a server, for sure.
Oh, man. Well, that sounds like it saved the day, and sounds like it's definitely something worth having in place. Yeah, and so that's so you actually have a requirement for your customer to have certain things in place, or you won't service them at all.
Yeah. So to be clear, a few years ago, I had a policy where if you didn't fit a certain criteria, you weren't a customer. But I didn't like how much of the market I was leaving on the table. The best way to describe it is I was targeting about 20% of the market as a potential customer, and 80% weren't a fit. Well, I decided that out of that whole middle there's a lot of people I do want to work with. So there's a bottom 20% we want nothing to do with. And I mean, you can kind of imagine why we would not want those types of customers. Maybe ones that don't pay, ones that abuse your staff, ones that don't like tech. I don't know. Take your pick. But the 60%, that kind of in between, those are good customers, but they just don't rely on technology as much as we'd like, kind of thing. So what we do is we won't manage them under an all-you-can-eat agreement or all-you-can-need. So our top 20% customers that want to engage in a flat-fee IT support structure, they have no choice. They have to have this, that, and the other thing in place. If you don't want that, you can go in the middle, and we service the best we can. Kind of like what Martin was saying there. Who's monitoring what, this kind of that sort of thing. I mean, we have some clients like that, but it has to be very clear and laid out.
And I've always, one of the things that people have asked me is how does my pricing structure go? And I've kind of hummed and hawed back again, regarding a kind of a one price, like what you're doing. This is the cost. We're going to cover everything type thing. And I thought, that's a little much for me, and I didn't really like that. And then all this happened. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to write them a proposal for just an over thing. And it wasn't until I got bit by this one customer by expectations that I said, you know what? I'm going to have to do something like that, because then that way there's no question, there's no finger pointing. That way, then when I can set up some certain backups, and I can have redundancy backups, and I'm not always going to them, hey, can we buy this, and hey, can we buy that? It's just, this is the cost. I'm going to put these products in place because I'm going to use these, and these are the ones that I've used and vetted, and then I adjust my cost accordingly, and that way there's never any question.
Yeah, the cost is what it costs for you to deliver the service with reasonable profit on top of that. There was another show, Jeff, that you do a couple weeks ago, and one of the guests on there had said that an all-you-can-eat contract is a great way to go broke. Right. I think you know who I'm talking about, and you probably know what show I'm talking about. And the interesting thing about that, when I heard that comment, was it actually is a very good point, because if you're a reactive company and you're not very efficient, you basically, the alarm rings and everybody runs for an axe and a fire extinguisher. You really shouldn't be doing all you can eat, because the all you can eat is all based on efficiencies. So the way it has to work is, if I say to you, how long does it take to do this? You need to be able to give me an answer on the spot, because if you don't know how long it takes to do X, Y, Z on average, you won't you won't do very well with that model.
Gotcha. No, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, just so everybody knows, I don't know what's going on with the live feed because we have started the broadcast and everything's set up correctly, and it's just not showing up. So, sorry about that. But we will continue on. So, let's see. My tip for the week is I want everybody to go to TechNibble. Go to technibble.com/unconvention2016 survey. And this is a survey for the Unconvention in Toronto that we're doing July 22nd through the 24th. And we're going to be talking about things that are going to help you in your business. But we want to know what you want to hear about. So this is a great way for all the techs out there, all the business owners, to go there. It's a quick, less than 5-minute survey, answer some of the questions. That'll give us a better idea of what to provide so that you guys get your best bang for the buck when you come out. Also, number 2 is we need, if there's anybody out there that would like to be a call screener for the show, I would appreciate you giving me a contact and just contact me at podnutz@podnutz.com and let me know about that, and we can hook up. And I basically use Skype, a Skype-to-Skype account. I have a call-in number. We've got some different routing, but basically the call screener will pull the call in, link it into my Skype account, which I have on my end, and then we'll pull the caller in when we need to manually from there. So I just need to make sure that we've got actual legitimate people before we put them on the show because, unfortunately, we've had some crank callers. So, with that being said, if you have any interest in that, and again, I just want to get a couple more people so we can kind of have a rotation going on and keep some people in the flow of that. Basically sit and watch the show and just answer the calls as they come in. All right? Okay, so with that, let's go ahead and play our one voicemail. Let me do this, and we'll unmute that, and we'll play that.
Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Ricky Saul from RMS Tech. Catching up to some episodes here on my way home from work. About halfway through listening to podcast number 163, and John Dubinsky mentioned an issue he was having with filling in forms on websites with an email address not taking. I don't know if this is going to solve the problem, but I ran into something kind of similar. It might be the domain name. I've got some pretty funky domain names. For a little while, my website was rmstech.repair. And I guess the way that people have their websites set up or coded or whatever, they have, I guess, a white list of accepted domain extensions, .net, .com, .info, all the common ones. And I guess the issue that I was running into is something that was kind of quirky or uncommon, like a .repair or some of the new vanity domains. They wouldn't take it because it didn't see it as a valid email address. I don't know if you've since remedied the issue. Again, I'm catching up on a ton of episodes, or if you found something else that works. But this is an issue that I've run into in the past, and it's kind of similar to the one that John had. So I don't know, maybe this can help. But I'll catch you guys later. I enjoy listening to the shows, and keep up the good work.
Well, thank you for that voicemail. And yeah, one of the issues that I don't know if that's going to solve the particular problem that John was having, and also I have another person from my work that was having. And basically, this person had an AOL email address, and they were trying to log into, using their Mac, they were trying to log into a place like Gander Mountain. They just wanted to create an account, and it's kept coming back with invalid email address. And then on top of that, they were getting this pop-up that was saying there was some sort of bad fonts. And it has to do with the Mac. Definitely not, it has nothing to do with the regular PC. It's something specific on the Mac. It's been a known problem since like 2008, but there's not really any definitive fix for it, so we don't know exactly how that's going to work out. We're still looking for information on that, but yeah, that's I can see that where some of the domain names might not be recognized because they're not normal. That makes perfect sense. So appreciate that tip, and hopefully that will help somebody out in a situation, or at least kind of push us in the right direction of what we need to do for our stuff. So, all right, with that, let's go into some of our emails. This is from Dave Feist. Hey, Jeff, just a heads up. Watch out for this update, KB312-4263. It is a cumulative update for Windows 10 version 1511. It wiped out my machine last night, and I didn't know what it was. Went to a customer's today, brand new machine. I just finished it on Friday. Went back to install Quicken for her, and it says it needs a restart to take, or for these changes to take effect. It's a white message box. Once you reboot, never came out of it. When I saw that box pop up, I thought to myself, there's no possible way it can happen twice. Sure enough. So I had to load Windows on another drive for my system, and then I got my SSD just sitting there with all my programs on it. And I really don't want to reload everything. Just a heads up. Well, thank you for that tip, Dave, and hopefully you got that stuff sorted out. Now, I've had a couple updates since I've gotten this email from you, and I've had no problem, and I'm running 15.11 on all my machines at this point. So hopefully whatever happened to you was a one-off, and hopefully Microsoft, as they usually do, once a few people get hit, they usually fix the problem, and we actually get good patches after that. So, but yeah, definitely look out. If you do see that pop up, be cautious. All right. Any one of you guys
Jeff,
want to?
I actually should point out that this is a really good sales pitch for why you should be doing patch management for your clients. You don't want to release things the second they come out. You want to hold them for a couple days, whatever your policy is. If you have extremely sensitive clients, maybe even longer, and have a test group set up, roll out patches on a rolling basis, and that way, if it does blow up, you're not affecting hundreds or thousands or how many machines you manage. You're not affecting them all, only affecting a small subset.
Right. No, that's a good point.
Yeah, but you can't make money doing that.
Back to the all-you-can-eat conversation, right? Very expensive.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. All right. Next email is from Roger England. It says, hey, Jeff, I've been looking into marketing the business and found Score. You might be aware of it, but I figured I'd throw it out there as a free resource for new and already started businesses. They are all over the U.S. They provide one-on-one or group counseling. This could be an option for a lot of IT startups. And we will have the URL for that in the show notes. And also, there's a subject in there called Marketing on a Shoestring. And I will link that article, and that's from the Score website. And if you guys have heard Paco LeBron, he's talked about and used Score before in just talking to him. And what Score basically is it'll be retired business owners that are willing to sit down and share information with you about growing a business. So,
this is
oh
great.
my gosh. And
this is terrific.
And here we have none other than Marvin B, which we can't hear, driving in his car, but he's on video, so that makes it way cool.
This is good. This is good. This doesn't get any better than this.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and put his video up, and there we see him driving and talking to himself. So this is very interesting.
Are you guys able to hear me still?
What's wrong with you guys?
I can hear you.
There we go.
Right.
There we go.
We can hear you.
My computer has completely locked up, but yet I can hear you and I can talk to you. So I'm just gonna. I have my computer is down, but it's open. So
there we go.
I'll just be here.
Yeah, that's good.
It's been a weird day. Yeah, the live feed's not working, and yeah, that's just
The best part is you can't see us looking at you, so you're gonna have this awkward look on your face, like, are they there? Are they not there?
Can you see me still?
Oh yeah, we can see you. You're still moving. Everything's great.
fine.
No,
Yep.
everything. My whole system is locked up. The whole thing.
That's terrific. Not that it's locked up, but just that we're continuing on. Oh, did we lose Marvin's video feed there? That's
Looks like you dropped out there.
oh,
All right.
great.
Continuing on with our third email before we get into the main topic of the show. It says, Jeff, 2 years ago I started my computer repair business. I did so part-time so that I could maintain full-time employment income while the business grows. I'm a one-man operation focusing on residential customers. This decision has been largely in part due to my awareness of my skills, tools, and knowledge. As you have discussed on your show, it is important to know your limitations and to be aware of what you can and can't do. As a result, I am not yet prepared for, nor would I feel comfortable reaching beyond residential and home office users at this time. As I increase my expertise as a tech, I will venture in that direction, but in the meantime, I will continue my focus on residential. Steady and reliable cash flow is proving challenging. I'm aware that this is to be expected from residential until a very large client base is developed. In an effort to circumvent these fluctuations, I would like to offer a RMM services to my existing clients. I very much need the cash flow so I can afford to do some advertising. So my two questions are this. What software or service do you use or would recommend? And as I look into to be able to do RMM services. And my second question is, in short, what types of advertising have been tried that has worked and hasn't worked, i.e. print, flyers on windshields, etc., digital, Facebook, Yelp, search engines, broadcast, radio, television, and other things such as public transit, vinyl car wrap, door magnets, etc. The problem is no one knows I exist. How do I get a cost-effective to let people know that I am there for them? And this is from Keith Rosa, PC Medics of Richmond. Thanks for the email, Keith. And those are some great questions. And I'm going to go ahead and divert this as far as I can't remember what Chad is using for an RMM, but Chad, what are you using as a RMM?
Well, I've done the RMM rodeo over the years. Now, anytime anyone asks me what they should switch to, I tell them nothing. Stay with what you have because the retraining is just not worth it. Currently, I'm with Logic Now, Max Focus, GFI, whatever they're called today. If there's a new name, I might not have got it yet because, it's about that time, I figure. The reason we used to be with LabTech, Kaseya before that, the reason why I'll actually go back a little bit in time to explain why I'm using GFI. When I had LabTech is amazing. However, it requires a dedicated LabTech person. Like literally, you need a full-time guy to sit there and be a LabTech guy. I'm not talking help desk. I'm not talking customer service. I mean work on LabTech. And with the resources we have, I determined that it was inefficient. The type of customers I'm attracting, less than 50 seats typically, it didn't make any sense to have all that extra flexibility LabTech had, so we switched over to Logic Now, GFI, whatever I call it, whatever I feel like at the moment. So I think we all know what I'm talking about, though.
Gotcha.
And you know what? I've been extremely impressed. A lot of the gaps that we had when we initially switched a couple years ago, they've actually been filled in. They have a really nice conference. I was actually speaking on the panel at their conference last year, and it's a good product. They've added a lot of stuff. This guy said he was working on mostly residential. Did he not?
Yes, he did.
So one of the other problems we had with LabTech, ConnectWise, it took about an hour to roll out a new customer. With a home user, residential person, that's a huge waste of time. So basically with this, we can get one rolled out in about 2 minutes. So we actually switched to Repair Shopper too. So we have Repair Shopper and Max Focus.
Okay.
Are kind of our combo.
Nice. Very good.
Very much, yeah.
And I know, Martin, you are still using Logic Now or whatever they're called.
I am, and Repair Shopper. So can I just say ditto and just go with no? I'm kidding. Yeah, no, we're just now implementing Repair Shopper as well. But yeah, I have been with Logic Now, GFI, Logic Max, whatever it's called, now since the beginning, and I've got 288 seats with them, both residential and business, and yeah, it's really easy to get them rolling out, which what Chad said, a couple minutes, if that, to get something rolled out on them. Their footprint's pretty small. I don't have any problems with them. I'm not using them to their full capability because they have all of these patches and ways to get extra add-ons that are within the program itself, and I'm not using all of those quite yet. I will be in the future. So I have noticed, though, the one thing I did notice, and I do get my support tech guy, my account rep, and I know they're going through a transition because weren't they just purchased by another company not too long ago?
No, they split the company is what happened.
They split the company. So I felt like it's taken a little bit of time to get some support back from them. But that's getting better over as time goes on. Over the last couple of months, it felt like it was long, and then now they're shrinking it back down. And I think part of that's just growing pains on their part, which is fine. But I haven't had any issues with them. My rep, whenever I ask him for some software or for some paperwork or where I'm going to go with something, he's right on it and sends me information. Actually, I submitted a ticket because I wanted some help with some Sophos problems from another customer that was switching off of Sophos, and the tech support came back with, we don't know, contact Sophos, and my rep was not happy with that. He was going to take it up the chain because he said there is no way they should have said that to you. They should have resolved the issue. So I got a guy in my corner fighting for me. So I'm pleased with that.
Well, that's good. Yeah, it's good to have a good rep to the company that you're using their product or service.
I think. Sorry, Jeff. You want
Go
to
ahead.
cut me off there? I think one thing we should highlight for this guy that's asking though is that the PSA or whatever you want to call it, your ticketing system, that's actually more important in my opinion than your RMM tool. The RMM tool is going to do some basic functions. It's going to alert, it's going to patch, it's going to do you're going to have antivirus stuff like that at a basic level anyway. I mean that's what it is. Keeping track of your time and not missing billable opportunities, that's key. Repair Shopper is. I mean, I don't really plug for anybody. We used ConnectWise for almost 5 years, but the problem we had with ConnectWise was that we also have a retail shop. Like we kind of have both sides of the market. And in ConnectWise, there's no easy way to deal with a small, with inventory. There's no easy way to deal with walk-ins, point of sale, that kind of stuff. So we had a separate system. And so when we went to Repair Shopper, I am missing some things from ConnectWise that I sometimes complain about, and they've been pretty good working with me on that. The only downside I have with them is with ConnectWise, I can get somebody on the phone anytime, anywhere, for support. With this, it's like, same day, next day, turnaround kind of thing. But for the cost, I can't complain.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. And I was going to say, go ahead.
He was talking about how, what's the best way for him to get out there in the,
Oh, yeah, we missed that. Yeah.
When I first started, I ended up just kind of going from, but I was specifically looking for businesses, but I would just walk from business to business to business down a kind of a small, what do they call those? It's not a mall, but an outdoor mall type thing.
Yeah,
shopping center. Yeah, strip mall. Thank you. And it worked a little bit. I got one or two here, but what's really going to happen is that if you're providing a product and you're providing a service that's good, if you are friendly, you're clean, you know what I mean, and you present yourself very well, then your name will be known, and that is going to be the best. Word of mouth is going to be the best way that you're going to grow. It may take longer, and actually it probably will take longer, but that's going to be where you're going to find your growth. In the meantime, between now and then, unfortunately I don't know. That's not I've just grown over the last 4 years, just grown via word of mouth every single time, and maybe I'm the exception and not the rule, but maybe I'm just lucky, I guess.
No. The thing is, Martin, you hit something really important there. I think we shouldn't overlook, and that is that you said you got out there and you talked to people. So to say word of mouth, I mean, I think a lot of people, if I tell people that my main source of referrals is word of mouth, I think people are going to assume that I've got clients that think we did a good job, and then they went and told their friend, and their friend called us. And while that does happen, probably 5% of the time, that's not what we're talking about, or at least that's not what I'm talking about, and not what I think you're talking about. And what it is it's going out there and meeting people. So if this guy wants residential customers, he needs to go where they hang out. He needs to go to a home show. If he can't afford a table or doesn't want to spend the money on a table, walk around the home show with cards. Talk to people. Leave a card. Anytime there's a bowl where there's a draw or something, just get your name out there. And when your name becomes more well known, that's a good start. And he mentioned a wrap. So if he can afford a $3,000 or $4,000 wrap on a car, he can spend $300 on a home show table. And the thing is that like a wrap and all that sort of stuff, a TV ad, I mean, whatever, how far you want to take it, that stuff's just going to help with branding and stuff over time. You need to get these people, you need to get in their face, they need to know who you are, they need to trust you. Join the Chamber of Commerce, join your local, join Rotary. Don't go to Rotary thinking you're going to pick up clients the first day you're there, though. You're going there to show you're a good person and then network. We have a mayor's gala here. We have a Rotary dinner once a year. You go to these things. It takes time.
Is it like Business International, something like that?
BNI. You can join a BNI. My problem with BNI is he said he wants residential, so I was leaving that one out.
Yeah.
But even so, I mean, like, you need to go to these sort of events, and maybe you shouldn't rule a BNI out because if he specifically says that he's looking for he's not looking for networks, he's not trying to support servers and network infrastructure, then maybe he could get some home offices. Maybe there's somebody in his area that doesn't want to deal with the bookkeepers, the farms, the tradesmen, but they have needs. I mean, we have a lot of those clients, but if we didn't have the store, it'd be a little trickier to support them.
I mean, something that may or may not work, I'm not sure, is I'm always when I'm always out in my workday, I have my shirt on with my logo on it and my information. Maybe just self-advertise yourself. Maybe you're hanging out at a coffee shop. Put some of your cards up on there. A lot of coffee shops have kind of community bulletin boards. Where spend a little bit of money, get a logo shirt, and then wear that. When you're walking around and people will always look at because it says Obando Computing, and people for the longest time thought it was Obama for a long time, but it got the conversation going. I mean, it was the cheesiest thing, and I was like, seriously? But it got the conversation going, and then they would say, well, what is Obando Computing? Boom, I'm in. Now I can sell myself. Because remember, you're not selling your business, you're selling you. And so be confident in you, be confident that you're a salesman, and get out there and just sell it. And you're going to flub, you're going to make mistakes, but every time you make a mistake, you're going to get stronger and stronger.
And a key thing, too, is know what you're going to say when that conversation starts.
Right.
Don't go, I do computers. Like that's no good. You have to, have a sort of statement. I tell people, depending on who they are, our thing is business continuity, disaster recovery prevention, and we do flat rate IT support. Or if I think they just, have, they want to talk to their grandkids on Facebook, I tell them we have a store in town. Here's the address. Come stop on by and talk to us, kind of thing.
Right. And always look for a way to sell it. And I say this with love and caring, but one of my biggest clients that I've actually landed multiple jobs with is I was on a plane sitting next to him on my way to Chicago. I was coming out to OLF, and we just got talking. He was a vet. I'm a tech guy. He does their tech stuff. Boom, boom, boom. Now I run his clinic. I run his partner's clinic, and now I'm looking at like 3 or 4 more clinics. I mean, it was just a plane ride to Chicago.
That's the point. That's the point we're making, right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I ditto all of what these guys have said. It's all good information, and I will tell you from my standpoint as a part-time tech, I'm lazy. And because I'm lazy, I just started Google AdWords back when I started my business in 2010. I built my business in 2 different spots in the state of Michigan, and both times I've had where my residential customers will have a business or maybe know somebody that's in a business and say, hey, can you come support me here? Or a lot of times, just from the Google AdWords, I will get a lot of emergency stuff from a business that whatever, their regular tech support can't get out there, whatever it is. And a lot of times I'll go out there and I'll support stuff like that, and word gets out about my work, what I do. And again, it is about personality. It's about being nice. It's about doing the job properly and just taking care of your customer. Google AdWords is, in my opinion, the best bang for the buck for whatever area you're in. And the only thing I'll tell you is that there's a cost to it. But I've never spent my own personal money from my day job in my business. I've never had to. From day one, I threw a Google AdWords account up. I was able to set it up. I think I had the first one was $100. I think I had a $100 coupon to get started. I started with that, boom, and I just learned to tweak it over time. And even here lately, this year, I've had to make some adjustments to it because it was getting some weird connections to people that wanted stuff that I don't even deal with. So you've got to be careful when you're doing the Google AdWords. But once you learn it and you kind of get inside there, depending on how much business you want and how far you want to go out. Now, mine's a very small area. Of course, I have 93,000 people in this area, but it's a very small area. And because of that, I don't advertise out too far. Now, for some people that are in a more rural area, you might actually have to go out a little bit farther than that, and you can set that up by zip code and different things there. So, as far as the RMM, well, let me go back to let's stick with the advertising. Everybody knows I use Ninja RMM, and I love it, and it works good, and it's progressing over time, and it'll be fine for. I like the interface. I like how it works. But going back to things like flyers, I've done flyers, and I will take business cards, and the same thing Martin was talking about. I'll hang them up on the community boards at local shops that I buy things from. Right? You have a lot of local mom and pop stores. They love to let other people advertise whatever they're doing, so I'll put my business cards up there. Have I ever gotten any business from there? Not really. Most of my business usually comes from Google AdWords, and it's just what's worked for me. And like I said, 2 different spots in Michigan, it's worked the same, 2 different income areas, and you just have to tweak it for your area. I actually charge more here, and I get less business, but I make actually more money than what I was making on the other side of the state, so if that makes any sense. So sometimes you're going to have to spend a little bit of money up front, but a lot of times, like I said, with Google AdWords, you can use a coupon or something like that to get you started. As far as, you want to advertise on your car, you can do things like magnets, and I know they're not as professional looking to a lot of people, but at least I've had people that I'll be going down the expressway, And I've had people call me while I'm sitting there in my car because they're like racing next to me, asking me if I do websites or whatever. I mean, these things do happen. And I'm like, how'd you see the number? We're going like 80 miles an hour. I don't get that, but whatever. So, but yeah, I like that whole idea. You know, whenever I go out, I wear my polos with my name tag on it, and just present yourself right. One of the things I really need to do is I need to get a part of Chamber of Commerce and different things. I just haven't done that yet, and partially because I don't want to. But that's just me. So, anyways, yeah, there's a lot of different ways out there. We put out, I think one summer we put out within a few week period like 3,000 flyers in our local area. I mean, like within the local neighborhoods, just letting people know we're close or whatever. Nothing. Got absolutely nothing.
It's a big thing, Jeff. You know, when you talk about joining the Chamber of Commerce, it's a commitment, and you're working with other business people. I mean, you got your other jobs, so you seem to be doing pretty good with the part-time amount of work you want, right? You don't want to ditch the other thing. But if and I noticed there was 3 phases for me. There was when I was a consultant and I had other stuff, whether it was big contracts, like I would take these like 9-month contracts and things like this, and the perception I had from people and the amount of clientele I could get. Then when I went, this is all I do, I sort of got new people that wouldn't deal with me before. And then when I went brick and mortar, all of a sudden these people just came out of the woodwork and they were like, oh, you've got an office. Oh, okay. So I'm not saying that you can't do well without one of those things, but I did notice, depending on your goals, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And this guy, he didn't mention in his email there, did he quit his job, going full time on this, or?
It sounded like he is doing he started part time, but I don't know. It didn't say if he's going full time into the computer repair or not. So.
Yeah, well, they say the AdWords are great for me. I'm a relationship kind of guy, so I like to go out and just build the relationships. It's easier for me. The problem I've had with, we'll call it estranged advertising, anything where they just call in randomly, is you have to, who are you, why should we trust you, that kind of thing is usually how the conversation starts. When I get in there, they already like me, or I wouldn't be continuing the conversation, and so there's like a level of trust that you kind of get a little easier, but it's more work. So what works for you is,
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, on my phone calls, that's where I sell myself. So I'm answering the phone call. It's me you're talking to, and you either like me or you don't, and I don't care either way. Because a lot of times the people that, they don't ask about price or anything like that. They're just like going, yeah, you sound like you know what you're doing, and we'll go ahead and drop that off right now. And other people are kind of like, you can tell they're kicking the tires, right? They're trying to get the cheapest price. Those aren't my customers anyways. I don't care. So
I run into the problem. That problem, well, you mentioned it as like a good thing. For me, it's a problem when they're like, "Oh, I like you. Can you work on it?" No, I'm not. I've got somebody who's going to work on it. I guarantee you won't pay my rate if I tell you what my rate is. So we're just gonna. But everybody here's great, or they wouldn't be here. Is how my next line kind of goes.
Right.
But,
you got it. No, and that's it's the wonderful thing about the business is you can build it many different ways. Again, mine's a little bit different plan. I'm too vested at the company I'm at right now, so I can't. In good conscience, I can't leave.
Oh, you could.
You can always leave.
You can always leave.
But with 7 years left and a full pension, I don't think so.
I wouldn't judge you. Just so you know, I wouldn't judge you.
I would a little bit. But that's just me. That's my MO.
My plan. So when I get my full pension, I'll be 53, and so at that point, at 53 years old, I'll be able to go and do this business full time. So I can organically build it up slowly, and I'm building my clientele where again, it is about the relationship. So I can build a residential client as a relationship versus just as a one-off client. Yeah, I still get the one-off clients, and that's fine. They come and they go, and they replace themselves, and that's fine. But the ones that they call me every time something goes wrong, those are my good customers.
Yep.
You don't need a whole lot of them to actually make a decent living doing this.
No,
so
it's true.
Yeah. But all right, so yeah, as far there's all kinds of different advertising you can do, and I think we would all agree that some of it is, especially when you talk about radio and TV, some of it is kind of flaky and kind of out there a little bit. But you know what? I always say is try whatever you want and spend a little bit of money in your advertising. Try it. See what it does for you. Now, you need to do it a little bit longer than probably a month. You probably need to do something for a couple months in order for you to know whether you're getting any results. And a lot of times, don't ever look at a failed attempt at any type of advertising as a failure, because a lot of times what you'll see is somebody will have read something or seen something, and they'll come back like a year later and go, hey, I remember you, and that's why I'm calling you, and now I need help. Believe it or not, people do remember stuff like that, especially if you got a good logo, you represent yourself well wherever you go. And but yeah, word of mouth. I still think word of mouth and Google AdWords is what works for me. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. Our show today is brought to you by Pulse Printing and Promotions. Get help with all your print and promotional needs. Business cards, postcards, stickers, mouse pads, fridge and card magnets, shirts, pens, and so much more. You can see some of the most popular items online, and new items are being added all the time. If you need something that is not listed, just ask. Make sure you use the promo code Podnutz for 5% off every order. It never expires. You can also sign up for their newsletter to receive monthly specials. And Darren is such a great guy over there. One of the things he's providing, if you sign up for the newsletter right now, we're going to do this over the next 4 weeks, you'll be entered to win 500 business cards. Now, I recently wanted to redo my business cards, just haven't had time to sit down with Photoshop and manipulate the things the way I wanted them. And so basically, Darren wanted to, and this is one thing, I'm never going to bring anything to the show that I don't either use or believe in. Now, I might not use every product that I talk about, but I definitely believe in the products or know other people that use them. So in this case, Darren wanted to send me some business cards. He said, all right, what do you want? And so I sent him a copy of my old business card. I gave him a little bit of information and a new picture. And I said, have at it. And this was the first time ever that I've ever gotten anything back where I didn't make a change. He did the front and back, and I'm like, I was looking at it and I go, did you like reach into my brain to figure out exactly what I wanted? Because it was exactly what I wanted. And it was maybe he knows my personality a little bit or something, I don't know. But anyways, he was able to put that together, and he did it in less than an hour. And I said, yeah, print them. And he printed them. I got them, and I'm telling you, they are thicker than the other company I used to go to. We won't mention her name, but they start with Vista. And anyway. Anyways, these cards are
Mr. Print, please come to the head office, Mr. Print.
These cards are so much heavier, and they're actually bigger than the other cards that I had. And the quality printing, they're glossy on both sides. They are just beautiful cards. So I went back to him and I said, you know what? I also need, because one of the things I do for my customers is I send out a actual thank you postcard, which nobody does anymore. And I send that out to my customers and just to let them know, hey, thanks for your business. You need anything, give me a call. They get the email marketing and all that stuff too, but I just like that personal touch. A handwritten note out to those customers really helps. So I had him redesign the postcards I was using. Again, great job. I had to make a couple changes to it, but he made the changes right away, boom, and he printed them and sent them out. And I'm telling you, great quality work. Definitely check him out. It's Pulse Printing and Promotions, and we will have the link in the show notes. So definitely sign up for that.
One of the things that I didn't follow this rule because I didn't hear about it at the time, but this goes back to the gentleman who's looking for help, and we had talked about, Chad, you had talked about a home show. So when you get business cards, get a business card that is different. And you, Jeff, you said yours is bigger, like bigger than the normal ones.
Well, bigger than the Vista print ones.
Okay.
And I don't know what they're standard. To me, the business cards I have now look more like regular size business cards. I think the ones I had before were small.
Okay, so I've seen, everybody, you've seen the kind of the custom business cards, whether it looks like a computer or it's a little off shape, you know what I mean? And the reason somebody said get something like that is because if you're at a home show and you're going around, and probably the people are going around and they're picking up business cards from customer, from all these different booths, right? And they get home and now they have a stack of business cards. I see it every time I go to a trade show. I come home with a stack of business cards. Well, the business card that's gonna stand out, that's going to fall out of the pack, that doesn't sit evenly in this stack of business cards, it's kind of a reminder that you're just a bit, set your business card just a bit differently so it stands out. Does that make sense?
Good. Yeah, that's good.
And I think I will agree to disagree on that one with you. If it doesn't fit in my binder, it goes in the shredder. But
you don't need computer.
You don't need the business cards though. You don't. You
What
throw
about the
those away
back?
anyways.
What about the back of the? Well, the thing is with keeping them is like, yeah, you can do the whole. Has anyone actually like bumped phones or beamed data to a random person that you didn't know, other than to prove that you could do that? So typically, if I want to do something, yeah, like
No.
so if
I try not to bump my phones with anything. I'm
You know-
just
you know-
saying that.
you know-
Not
you know
this
what I-
day
you
and
know-
age.
you know
Serious.
what what I'm saying though, right?
Right,
Like,
that's how viruses spread.
it's well, the thing with the thing with sending over contact information is I will give away business cards if I have one in my thing and somebody I want to refer somebody, a tradesman or something like that or whatever. I'll give them the card. What about the back of the card? One thing I believe in is not putting anything on the back of your card so that it leaves room for people to write stuff down. I know a lot of my clients, business clients specifically, they'll take your card and they'll make notes about the conversation you had on the back of the card, and that way when they get back from show or whatever they're at, they can then go, oh yeah, that's what we talked about kind of quickly. I know a lot of people like to put stuff on the back of the card. What do you got on there? I can't.
So on the back of mine says date, location, and notes. I've
There
never used it though. Never.
Okay, but no, not you, the clients. That's what I'm
Clients
talking
don't
about.
want my cards.
No? You
I
got
have-
your clients?
I have 5,000 of these things. You want some?
You're not giving them out quick enough. That's the problem.
That's probably the truth.
Or
There
you're
are
too
we,
busy.
yeah.
You don't want any more business because you got too much. That's a good problem to have.
I know, it was just a tip that I heard. You can take it or leave it, but it may,
Hey, I just
I
wanted
don't
to throw a contrary opinion up there because that is it. I see. And I'm refusing to show mine because they're getting redesigned, and I don't like them currently. But I will if you really. But basically, the back's blank and the front has our information. The picture's great. That's like you're taking like a tip out of like the realtor book. Like that is a really good plan to sell yourself.
Exactly.
Which
And that's
is
what I sell. I'm not selling. A lot of people can do the same type of work that I do, but you can't get the same type of service from me.
And I got to avoid doing that because otherwise they call and expect me to show up and get really upset when.
Well,
when
that's
my guys show up.
that's different.
It's a brand. I'm trying to sell a brand, and our brand is comprised of processes and reputation.
Right. Exactly. Yep. Just a couple different ways of doing business, but yeah. So those on the back of my card, I just used to have "Thank you for your business." Now what I put on, actually, I didn't come up with this. Darren did this for me. What he put on the back of the card was all the services that I provide.
That's an interesting idea too.
And so everybody knows they can flip, because a lot of times what will happen is a lot of people know that people will come to my house and they will drop off their computer. So I don't give them a receipt or anything like that. I could print one out, but why? I just give them a business card. You know where I live. Here's my card. Here's the information on it. And a lot of times, I'll go to people's houses sometimes, and people will have my card taped to their laptop or the side of their desktop or whatever. So,
One thing we should throw out there, Jeff, is it sounds like you got a very good deal on the cards that you got done. I think we've all seen some of the really ridiculous cards you can get done. Know your audience. Don't spend $7 a business card on machined aluminum ones. If you're trying to get residential clients, I actually have one somewhere. I'm not even kidding you. It's like a machined aluminum one, and the guy he only sells his services. He does like level 3 network support to other IT companies.
Okay.
And so his hourly rate I think was like $175 or $2.25 or something. So he knows what he's worth, and his $7 business card was worth it. And I'll tell you, I'm talking about it now because it was an amazing business card. I wouldn't have remembered it.
Exactly. You remembered it.
Exactly.
It made that point. All right. Well, let's take. We've went kind of on a long rant here. Let's go into our last subject, and that's how. And we've kind of talked about some of these things, but how do you get a steady and reliable cash flow in your business? How do you keep that going? Because that's a lot of the questions that are being asked by people is, how do I keep this business afloat? And
I know a guy that can answer that. There's a guy right there. There's a
hey, Mr. Marvin B. He is joining us. How you doing, Marvin?
What's up, slackers?
I'm telling you, man. How you doing,
I'm
Mr. Road Warrior?
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Hey, Marvin.
Obando.
That's Obando, not Hobando.
It is what it is.
It is, well, whatever. Hey, as long as it stands out and people remember me, call me whatever you want.
And we got Canadian representation today, I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Kempt.
That's how it is.
So, Marvin, we were just talking about how do you get steady and reliable cash flow and keep it going in your business? Because a lot of people are asking that question. It's like, how do I keep my business afloat while I'm building it, while I'm starting off, while I'm maybe doing it part-time or whatever that is? what are some of the things I need to do? And some people are talking about, let's get into an RMM, let's do some sort of managed service for residential or otherwise. But what are some of the things we can do to keep that steady cash flow going that makes sense, where we're not banging our heads against the wall and just losing money or throwing money out the window left and right?
Well, outside of winning the lottery and choosing the annuity package, I guess it depends on your business model, your clientele, because I know that when I first started, it was basically a contract. It was getting a customer to commit X amount of dollars per month for service, and whatever that service was. For me, it was a 1-week visit. I come in, take a look at all the systems, and that to me was steady income. And then basically it increased with all of the services I was able to offer. So, managed services is one sort of, steady income, but the problem with that is you still have to stay on top of it so that you don't lose that, because as we all know, customers will think, well, if they don't see anything happening, well, if you're not doing anything, what am I paying for?
Right.
So you have to show them the value in what you're doing, whether it's with reports or whether anytime you get a certain type of an alert, you forward them and say, hey, look, this just happened on your network. I'm going to log in and fix it. Don't worry. Here's an example that just happened to me on Thursday. I have a customer in the port of Fort Lauderdale. It's a not-for-profit, but they're literally inside the port, and I'm using Max Focus, and I got an alert that their server was down, that they had no internet connection, and I called them, and they picked up the phone, and all I could hear was laughing in the background, because all they could tell me was, we were just talking about you. We lost power, and we just figured you're going to be calling soon so that you can ask us what's going on.
Very nice.
Funny.
So to them, they know that I'm going to respond if I get a particular type of an alert. So they see the value in that.
Right.
So I don't know what you guys have talked about before I got on the air, but so I'm assuming you guys have already mentioned that. But some of the other things that I do is I partnered with one of the ISP companies. And they do have packages that if you do enough business where you can refer them customers, they will pay you to do that. And it's not, Comcast will do it as a one-time bonus. Hey, here's $50 for referring us or whatever. But some of the big ISPs will actually pay you a residual every month. If the customer pays $1,000 or whatever, you get X percentage of that bill. So if you do it right, you can get a nice little check each month for doing just that, for referring them business. Now it's only going to really make sense if you're doing, like I said, true ISP stuff where you're selling them T1 packages plus phones,
Fiber,
Ethernet. Fiber is a big one.
I want to take this in a different direction. As opposed to looking at these different ways to bring in revenue, I mean, the easiest thing to say, which will seem almost like a joke, is don't spend more than you make, right? And I mean,
good advice.
I mean, and obviously that's easier said than done, right? And
right.
So certain things that you're not going to be aware of when you're starting out is you're probably going to need a computer. Maybe you have one. Maybe you need a new one for your staff if you're hiring people. Depending on where you're at, make sure you're using partner programs. Make sure you focus with these vendors and you take advantage of demo discounts and things like that. Don't overspend. Second thing, more important than spending, because spending is easy, and of course you can work on reducing your spending. On bringing the money in, you're not a bank. If you are, you're on the wrong podcast. If you're trying to start a bank, I think there's Bank Weekly or something. It's a different show, slightly different topic. You are not a bank, and I'm going to say that a couple more times because it is very important. You are not a bank. Why that is important is when you're starting out, you want to be like the other big guys, and you want to offer terms to your customers. So you want to go perform work and then bill them net 30, and maybe you do your invoicing once a week or once a month, so you might even be net 60. And that is the worst way to have cash flow ever. So let me say something about that. There is certain clients that you do have to offer terms in order to do business with, and they're not your clients. Don't start with those clients if you're just starting out and have cash flow issues. We have some large corporations we deal with occasionally. They're like Net 45 and stuff. If you can't hold the bill, then don't do it. There's lots of work out there that does not require that, and we only do that if it makes sense. So here's things you can do. You're not a bank. I'll say it again. You're going to bill and collect the money up front for point of sale, time of sale customers. You go to somebody's house and do a virus removal, you don't leave without money. I wouldn't even take a check personally. Take a credit card with Square or something on your phone, or PayPal, or whatever you like, or take cold hard cash. But don't leave without it. That is because you can't afford to pay somebody to chase that person for money. That also costs money.
Right. Yeah, that's a good
when
point.
you're selling contracts, if you're going to go that route, I don't care if we're talking about a monthly contract for residential, or some big multi-office contract for business. You are not billing in arrears. You are not a bank. So you're going to collect 2 months up front. Let's say it is January 1st. You're going to get January, and you're going to get February on that first check in your hand. Then on February 1st, you're going to send a bill for March 1st. Due by March 1st, for March. You won't start servicing March until you're paid for March. And this seems like a very simple concept, but it's nobody does it when they're starting out, and that's when you need to do it more than ever. Look at the cable company. Does any of maybe things are different in Canada, but do any of you guys have a cable company where they will send you a bill, in arrears? You've used the service and then they send you a bill? No, they might send you overage bills, but they won't send you a bill in arrears. They're going to bill you for a period coming up, and that is just how things are done. So, get money at time of service. You are not a bank, and if you're selling contracts, you get the first 2 months up front. This is a dotto. This is month. I don't care what kind of contract. You get 2 months up front, or prepay for the year. If you can get a prepayment for the year, and one last thing about that, even though we're getting money up front, you're not cutting yourself short. So if your rate is, I don't know, what's an average rate, $100 an hour, don't tell somebody you'll work for $50 an hour if they pay for 10 hours up front. That is a 50% loss. That is crazy. That is absurd. If you're going to loan money out that cheap, call me. What you want to do, because my bank won't operate like that. So if you're opening a bank like that while you're still in business, I want in on it. What you're going to do is you can offer, maybe a 5% discount or a 10% discount for block hours. But that's it. Don't be giving these 25, 50% ludicrous discounts I've seen. So that's my piece on. And remember, you are not a bank.
I was going to say, what are we not?
You're not a bank.
We're not a bank.
But is it not true? Do you not see everybody pretending?
It's a great point, and it's now. I will say this: there are certain times. Most of my stuff is cash in hand. I actually do take checks. I've never had a problem with that.
I've had a lot bounce.
Again, local area. Customers are really.
There's 3,000 people in my town, and some of them didn't bounce on purpose, but it still has an NSF fee for them and for us.
Right.
And then I have to pay somebody to call them and ask them to come in with money again. No,
so no. I personally have had good luck with that, but.
Sorry, Jeff. Just to be clear, my business clients write me checks all the time. I'm talking. Residential. Yes. Right. Okay.
Yep. Well, and the gentleman spoke about Repair Shopper, and that's a great one because it's all included right in Repair Shopper. You can have them sign, you can have them do all of that right there. So
exactly.
Now, I will say for some of my clients that are repeat clients that I know and I've done work for before, if I'm working on something and I don't finish it up, now if I finish it up while I'm there on site, yes, I leave with money in hand or check or cash or whatever. That's fine. But there are some times where I'll come back and I got to remote in and finish a few things up or whatever. Then I'll invoice them, or a lot of times my clients will go, I don't need an invoice. Just how much is it? And just write me a check and send it.
You're not new though, Jeff. You're not new. You're not struggling. That guy, if he's halfway, interim billing, great. We're halfway through the job. I'll take half the money.
Right.
He can't afford to do that because he has to eat.
Now, what do you do for equipment sales?
Okay, so what do I say I do, or what do I occasionally do?
Like if you go in and you say, you go into a company and you say, hey, we're going to put in 4 workstations and a server or whatever.
Yep.
It's going to cost X amount of dollars. You get all that money up front, correct?
If it's a new client, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And just to be clear, I've been in business for quite a long time, so if I've been working with a customer for 10, 12 years, I will invoice them. I will be a bank. It's all priced in, though.
Right.
But we're starting out. we are not banks.
Brand new. Yes. Yeah.
Right.
You're exactly right.
You can't afford it. Well, you could get, if somebody orders 4 workstations and a server, that could literally put somebody completely under who is starting out.
Exactly.
I mean, like that is, you know.
Yep.
What can you afford to lose? Because that's
And
how much you can lend out.
I almost had that happen to me. I like everything was maxed out because it was a new customer, and I bit a big chunk of stuff that I shouldn't have done, and not ever again.
You
Yeah,
learn from that though, right?
I'll give you something. I had a customer, 5 computers, a server, a firewall, switch, and some other stuff I'm not thinking about right now. Gave me a check before I left. Check was about $15,000. Check bounced.
Oh.
Check bounced. So I then had to show up with my truck and repoed everything. So now I'm sitting on, there was labor in there, obviously, right? But I'm sitting on quite a bit, I don't know, $8,000-$9,000 in product, and I had to sell that and unload it. So on that note, certified check if it's a new customer and you can't afford it. I'm not saying I like to take a $9,000 kick in the pants, but I was able to put it all for sale, and I moved it within 45 days, and it didn't kill me. But that could have really hurt somebody.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Could have hurt me at certain points in time.
Yeah, you're more established though, so that was
right.
You were
That's
able
why.
to
Well, I'm trying to address
that.
the question from the I'm new, right?
Yep, exactly.
One of the things that I used to do, if I took a check, even if it was from a new customer, well, especially if it was from a new customer, is we didn't order stuff until that check cleared.
That's good.
That's a good one.
Now, that, and then as I got a relationship with the customer, then it became, if they're business customers, you pretty much learn who's good and who's bad pretty early on. And the other thing that I do that I was going to mention too on the contract deal, get a credit card on file, or something that if you're going to do the pre-billing or the monthly billing, they know that there's X amount of dollars that's going to hit their credit card every month, and they just get to the point where they just expect it. And that's really great I've got a couple of customers that love to build up their points in American Express. So
we have the same thing with the especially like our Dotto customers are a good example of this. Where we just do Dotto for them and nothing else. I tell them we put the charge through on the last day of the month, not the first day of the month. I get billed on the first day of the month. If the charge doesn't clear on the last day of the month, I turn off your offsite backups. The end. So you have 2 choices. You can either have a credit card on file, which is better go through on the last day of the month, or you get billed at the beginning of the previous month and you have to pay by the time that service starts. If you have not paid, you do not get the service. And you can't be something really important. You can't be afraid of these people if you're doing a good job, because they are not customers if they're not paying you.
Right. Exactly.
So you have nothing to lose. They're already not paying you.
Chad, that's a great point, because I did something in the beginning where I was starting with some of my managed services for residential, and I was charging them on basically the day I was getting charged for the service, right?
No good.
Might be the first of the month or whatever it was.
Yep.
And I started thinking about it. I go, what am I doing? And so I changed everything over. I go, no, it's actually 30 days ahead of time that I charge these customers.
Exactly.
Because at least within that 30 days, if I don't get that money, boom, end of the month, you're done.
And like I said, I have some where their bill is very, very, very large, and so 30 days of having that money out, I understand, is a problem. So I tell them very clearly that as long as it's paid before the service starts, that's fine. But if you don't give yourself a buffer, then you don't get a buffer. We will just turn it off. And in fact, here's a good story to back this up, if you want, real quick. Last year, I had a customer. He had a 10 terabyte Dotto. And 10 terabyte appliance. So I'm putting that out there because it was a very big bill. And essentially what ended up happening was 1 month his card didn't go through, and it had a really strange message. It was like a fraud type of message, like a pickup card and retain call, that kind of thing.
Ooh.
Anyway, what ended up happening was they went bankrupt and closed the doors. They locked all the staff out. So if I would have let that go through, I would have then had to try to fight to get the charge, which we do a lot of business probably, but again, back to you're just starting out. If that's your second or third device out there, you might have a hard time getting that refunded. So, and it might take a month to get refunded, so you might be without the money for a month. So,
and who wants to take all that time to be able to, time that you could be doing something else?
Make sure you're logging your time.
Problems.
You log your admin time, and you look at how much time you're wasting on this sort of stuff. Or if you're paying somebody, what you're paying somebody to do this, and you'll be surprised at how much money you waste. trying to chase payments, chase this, chase that.
Now, what do you guys do for a lot of your customers as far as net for businesses?
Due on receipt.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so we have like some legacy agreements. Like I said, 10, 15-year-old customer.
Okay.
I let a lot of stuff go through that I shouldn't because I made those mistakes, and I set a precedent. And you know what? I got a customer. They've been a fully managed client for, 11 years now. Fairly large monthly bill. If they order a new workstation or something like that, I'll bill them net 30 on the workstation. In fact, they bought a server last year, net 30 on the server. Again, money that I am prepared to lose, not happily, but I understand that.
Right.
That if for some reason they close their doors, I'm out of money. But yeah, we've been with them. But that's not my advice. That's just something I'm living with because of decisions I made over a decade ago.
Well, again, learning experiences.
Exactly.
That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Yep. Hey, Martin, how did when you first started off, how did you start keeping that steady cash flow coming in? What were some of the things that you did?
I just kept asking, kept looking. There's no shame in asking, hey, do you know anybody else, that needs business? If we're working with a customer or even with some friend or even with just, resident, do you know anybody else? Could you give me a reference? And then, I don't know, you can call them up, you can ask them, you could just meet them, It's a little, you remember you're selling yourself, and that's, you got to remember, you got to plug yourself, so be confident and get out there. But how I just naturally kind of grew. I already had a little bit of a clientele, and but just slowly over time just grew organically, which was nice. But keeping a steady workflow, I think I remember asking a couple times, do you know of any other businesses that you would recommend that I could just give them a call? And I did. I just called them. Said, hey, you're recommended by this. Is there anything? I just want to throw my name out there. This is who I am. This is what I do. Quick little, three sentence spiel about my business. And if you have any questions or want to think about me in the future, here I am. Or even just stop by and give them a business card. That stopping by sometimes the phone will work. It's quick, it's easy, but it's a little impersonal. Stop by, talk with them. It doesn't matter who maybe ask to talk with the manager or the office manager or something like that, and give them meet them, give them a card, let them know who you are.
Now, has anybody done, like, when they talk to businesses, do a brochure instead of just a business card that kind of explains maybe what you do?
You got to watch that. You got to watch that because then that brochure or whatever is going to represent what you do, and I don't like that. I don't want to be represented that way. They can go to my website, they can look at the stuff, all that sort of thing. You want to, back to what you said earlier, Jeff. You want to sell the business. You don't want it trying to sell itself. Right. Unless you have, if you've got a guy on staff that's or if you were a CCIE, the top level Cisco certification, just put it in big bold letters across the middle of your card. Go to anybody with a big Cisco network and just give them that. And when they have a serious issue, you'll get called.
Right.
But for most people that are more generalists, it's the personality and the trust, not the paper.
Okay.
Right?
No, that's a good point because I'm just curious because I've heard different people say, and I've never done it. I'm a business card guy. I don't really do the whole.
I actually am known for not bringing business cards to shows. There's a big joke up here at all the local shows. I don't know if you remember. You guys probably wouldn't know him, Neil, but from Collins IT. It was a huge joke because I would go to these shows and I always forgot my business cards. So everyone knew me as the guy that never had business cards. So I got really well known for not having them. So, and I'm not saying that people should not bring business cards. What I'm saying is, it's the personality, it's the talking, that's what matters. Don't rely on some page of nonsense. And your RMM vendor may tell you otherwise, but ignore them.
What do they know?
Their goal is service. They don't even care if you're charging for the RMM agents. They just want you to install them so they can bill you.
Right.
Because I've heard that before. Oh, you should install agents even if you're not, billing the client for it because you might find additional work. Yeah.
You will find additional work.
You have just found additional work. Yeah. That is your plan.
Exactly.
No, thank you.
No, I don't want to do that. Well, I think anything else on keeping that reliable cash flow? I think we've talked about a lot of different things, and just again, a lot of it's about mindset. A lot of it's about lessons learned. A lot of it's about experience and just going out and doing some things and sometimes even making those mistakes. And as Chad would say, you are not a bank.
Yep.
So, anything else that anybody can think of before we end off this show here? Nothing from me.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, let me
See, and there he is. He just woke up.
I have.
Hi,
I'm
Marvin.
sorry. I'm from the hotel, the drive, server, Datto. I just installed a Datto 6000, Chad.
Oh, man.
cool.
Happy.
We were just talking about Datto earlier too. That was
Yeah.
Good.
So I work late. I worked till probably 10 last night. Get back to the hotel, crashing out on the bed, and I'm watching television. And not really caring what I'm watching. I just needed something, not computer related. So this commercial comes on, and all you see is, somebody coming into a screen and slamming over equipment and stuff, and then it widens out to be a bank, and it's robbers, and they're coming in, and the customers are, being thrown down to the floor, and there's a security guy sitting right in the middle of the action, and he's just standing there like,
looking around.
and a lady that's on the floor looks up and goes, "Shouldn't you be doing something?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm not a security guard. I'm a security monitor. I'm just here to tell you if something goes wrong." So the robbers are all like, and their guns are just kind of looking, and he goes, "You're being robbed." And then the commercial kind of goes out. It's a LifeLock commercial, and it basically says, "Why monitor something if you can't fix it?"
Oh, good point.
And all I could think of is that's how we should treat our RMM products. They're not really just simply to be monitors for us. You got to be able to fix it.
Exactly. Have the tools in place and be able to use those tools. That's awesome. Oh. Well, Chad, I'll tell you what, if people want to find out more about you, and obviously we've seen you on IT Jetpack and different things, and I invited you last minute on the show, and I appreciate you coming out and taking Chris's place because Chris was not feeling well. But if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Get me on Twitter at Chad Kempt, probably the best place. You can go to my company website, fastcomputers.ca, or tanukistudios.com for my software company.
Okay. Very cool. Well, appreciate you coming out on the show.
Thanks. Appreciate you for having me.
No problem. And then Martin Obando, where can people find out more about what you're up to?
Oh, they can get me Obando in Google+. I'm Obando Computing in the chat when my computer's not locked up. ObandoComputing.com, and I'm on Geeksters. There's a show on the Podnutz channel called Geeksters, and that's where you can find myself, Mitch, and Tim. We talk geeky stuff.
Very cool. Yes, they do. Yeah, and they laugh a lot, so it's a fun all-around show.
It's like 80% laughing, 20% talk, and so.
And it's a good hearty laugh too.
Oh yeah, it's like brings tears to your eyes. Laugh. We don't namsy-pamsy around with our laughs.
That's right. Well, appreciate you coming out and sharing with us today. It's been great. Again, been a while, but it's been great having you. And Mr. maninthevan.net. Oh, I'm sorry, I just gave it away. Where can people find out more about you?
That's it, maninthevan.net.
That's awesome. Well, I want everybody to make sure and mark your calendars. Just a reminder, Toronto On Convention, July 22nd through the 24th, 2016. And if you would, please go to technibble.com/onconvention 2016 survey. Take that survey, less than 5 minutes, and that'll give us more information about what you guys want to hear about at the On Convention. We want to make sure we have good, relevant information that's going to help each and every one of you in your businesses. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live and hanging out in the chat room. We also have audio available over at podnutz.com or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. Send your questions and feedback to podnutz@podnutz.com. Or you can leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162. And I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Really appreciate it. Every time you guys are supporting the show, it makes me feel real good. And I'm glad that people are liking the content that we're bringing to the show. I want to give a special shout out to Brad Torrey, our newest Patreon subscriber there. So appreciate that, Brad. And you guys can support this show by going to patreon.com/Computer Repair Podcast. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. And we are still on the air, just for anyone that's curious.
Sorry, I forgot to dance.
All right. Well, my computer's locked up, so I'm gonna have to go.
I hear. Well, and I'm about to you guys can stay in for a few minutes here. I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to end the show off, and we'll see if this actually got recorded or not, because there was no stream for some reason. It says recording, it says live. So
did you grab when you were doing that? Did you grab in the Google Hangouts? There's 3 links. In Geeksters, I grabbed the middle one, and then what I ended up having to do was actually go back, grab the bottom one, and then get rid of all the extra information and use that link. For some reason, it looks the same, but for some reason the way it's formatted, I don't know if that.
Which is the middle link?
Because you can click on links because you get 2 or 3 links, right? I take the bottom one, the one with all of the code, the iframe information, and just strip out all the iframe and just grab the link out of that one.
Oh, you know what? I haven't used that one in so long. Okay, yes.
That's
video embed.
Well,
yeah.
I can tell you this. I was trying to grab you guys in the car just to see, and it just kept saying the live show will be starting in a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah, so that's when I tried to jump in earlier in the car. I was going to say, what are you guys waiting for me?
All right, so
show must go on.
I'll definitely look at that. But see, the thing is, it's not even on YouTube right now for some reason.
Right, and in the chat, I just came in. I mean, there was a couple of people that said, yeah, I guess there's always next week, so they must have.
Yeah, the chat didn't see it either.
Yeah,
they didn't see it.
No, yeah.
I look at it right now. I don't see it either.
So I sped home and broke the law for nothing.
Well, it's still recorded regardless, so we're all good there.
Oh, okay. Well,
you recorded off of YouTube as well, Jeff?
Oh yeah. I've got 2 backups. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You can always do some rendering and uploading.
So I don't use this audio most of the time, anyways, unless I need it as a backup. All right. Well, I think with that, you guys can hang around, but we are going to end this official show off, and we'll see if it actually goes up to YouTube or not. And you guys have a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everyone.
Ciao bella.